Okay, everyone, we are joined in the media center now by the driver of the #1 Star Nursery Chevrolet for Ganassi Racing. And Kurt Busch, I'm going to let you introduce the guy sitting beside of you.
I'd love to introduce Craig Q, the owner of Star Nursery, and my first ever big-time sponsor that started all this madness. Back, I don't know, 22 years ago, Craig Q gave me the opportunity to drive his late model, and here we are with a special paint scheme to commemorate that championship run we had in 1999 in the Featherlight Southwest Series. So it's great to have you on board and great to have the sponsorship, and thought we'd make sure that you got up here to speak about how many plants are for sale at Star Nursery.
Everything's for sale.
Everything's for sale. All right.
Craig, just kind of talk about getting to know Kurt, how you guys got started in this whole deal and how he ended up in your race car and it turned into kind of a lifetime friendship.
I think Kurt was 14 years old when I first met him. A friend of ours, mutual friend Joey Mancari, introduced us. Kurt came up and told me all of his high expectations of what he wanted to do. And after about a 20-minute speech I listened to, I gave him $100 out of my pocket. And 3 days later, he brought me a picture of his dwarf car with a Star Nursery logo on it, which I still have today. The next one, I think, was 2 years later. He jumped into a hobby class, and I sponsored that car. I think, how'd you do there?
We won 4 races, and we got the championship at the year end.
Yeah, got the championship, and that was
1996.
96.
96.
So in 97, I had an opportunity to jump into the Southwest Tour and ask Kurt to be my driver. Well, he had never been in a late model, ever. And I had to rent a car to break him in, and the very first time he was in that car, he won here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Pretty unbelievable. The local guys didn't like him, didn't like that at all. And I think the next race he went out, I think they destroyed the car.
Yeah, I got turned sideways off turn 4, and the car is basically the same shape as a pretzel.
Yeah.
Now, after we got turned and wrecked off turn 4, and it's because we did too good in our first time out.
We did very well the first time. And then the next year, I put him in a tour car. He did very, very well, won Rookie of the Year. Next year, he exceeded in everything he did, won five races? 6 races and won the championship. And I think you all know the rest of the story. That was in 99.
All right, we're going to open it up now for questions, and we have wireless microphones, so raise your hand if oh, Lee's right up here.
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com. I'm curious, after having that first practice session out there, what did you learn about the car with the drag ducts on this package?
Yeah, as far as the new NASCAR package with the drag ducts and today's procedures for qualifying practice, I thought it'd be easier to hold it wide open all the way around with the draft. The cars are still able to go wide open by themselves, but we saw a few teams. Gibbs got out there and did a 4-car run. We tried at Ganassi to do a 2-car run. A few other teams did some runs where they were just trying to catch the air in front of them, and that's the game that's being played, is how well you can manage catching the right draft. And that's what we're going to try to do this evening in qualifying, is just try to catch the right amount of air, be able to hold it wide open, and see how things progress. But once we get into race practice tomorrow, that's when we'll see the Star Nursery special and its handling characteristics and what it can do in the draft, to be able to stay wide open, but to be able to do it comfortably.
All right. Oh, right back at Woody.
Woody came with MRN. Kurt, I wanted to get you to look ahead for a week, if you will, for Phoenix, with getting some of the horsepower back there, and after flip-flopping the start-finish line, how do you expect restarts to be there after what you've seen and what you know about the package now?
Remember our first trip to Phoenix? We didn't have brakes at the end. And I radioed in, it didn't have brakes. He's like, well, just lift. Oh, well, that's a novel idea. Craig was my first spotter as well, and he helped me from the top of the grandstands with all his wisdom and Also, all that car owner passion. He taught me how to protect the race car. And at Phoenix, it was pretty wild. Turn 4, the exit, where you'd hold it wide open. As a kid, you don't even know where the corner exit is, and you're driving off into this distance holding it wide open. And Phoenix was really a challenge early on for me. And next week when we go there, I'm really looking forward to the package. We have all of our horsepower back, and we have full downforce. And so I'm expecting track record type speeds next week. We'll get back to more of our standard style of short track racing with this high downforce and high horsepower package. So we've had a good variety so far this year with Daytona's package, Atlanta, here in Vegas, and then Phoenix next week. Full downforce, full horsepower. That's the one I'm looking forward to.
All right, Bob, Jeff, and then Doug.
Bob Parkhurst, Fox Sports. So do you think everybody's going to wait till the end of qualifying and try to go out in a big draft, or can you just draft with your teammates and have as good a run as if somebody was in a 10-car draft?
Craig would just tell me to go out there and hold it wide open. That's what we'll do, but I think each round will be a little different. I'm hopeful we'll get through that first round with the raw speed in the Star Nursery #1 Monte Carlo. That's what it was back then with our Camaro. And then round 2 and 3, we'll see how things progress because we're going to need the air in the draft to be able to advance. So lots of unknowns heading into the round tonight.
Jeff?
Hey, this is for Craig. This is Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. I'm just wondering, so obviously after you helped launch his career, as he's made it in NASCAR and stuff, what's it been like for you to watch him from afar, watch him on TV, and be like, man, I had a hand in this. That had to be kind of a cool
Jeff,
feeling.
that's a great question. Very, very simple. Very, very proud. Very proud of what he is, where he came from and where he is today. It's, I think it's also very special that Kurt and I have carried our bond through all these years. I don't know if you all know this. This whole deal came together within 3 weeks, which I thought was pretty darn special. And it's very special for all my employees to see the car back on the track. Because it's been,
I think he had a car.
15 years.
Yep, at Phoenix was the
Yeah.
last race.
All right, Doug?
Kurt, kind of along the theme of a couple of other questions, Doug Rice, PRN. What's your best estimation of what we're going to see Sunday once we drop the green flag?
My best assessment is that we're going to see a draft come into play with this new rules package. We're going to see a track that has what I believe to be a harder tire that's less forgiving than Atlanta. And there's going to be consequences when cars check up and come out of the gas because they found a bad batch of dirty air. I think the dirty air is going to be magnified this weekend versus what we saw at Atlanta. And from my best guess is, there's going to be cars that are set up for handling. There's going to be cars set up for raw speed. And I think the engineers right now are figuring out how long they can keep me out on a set of tires because the tires just aren't wearing out. Therefore, we need to spend less time on pit road, but then that puts the car in a vulnerable handling condition where you're going to be slip sliding around on tires that have multiple heat cycles. I think the level of anxiety is going to ratchet up this weekend versus what it was at Atlanta.
Mark?
Mark Harrell, PRN. First, for Craig, did you get this came together quick, did you get some kind of frequent flyer bonus or whatever, or discount since you've been, since the first $100 check all the way up through?
Yes. Yeah. We, Craig doesn't do this.
I know, I wanted to put him on the spot.
Thanks, Kurt.
This is my 651st one of these.
My first. We have stayed very, very close together. I had a really firm belief when I brought Kurt into, I guess, my stable. I felt it was my opportunity to take him to the next level. I had a really, really strong gut feeling where he was going to go from day one when I watched him. And it was my responsibility to nurture that relationship, teach him everything I could, prepare him for the next level. And I can tell you honestly, when Jack Roush called him in, I guess it was at the end of '99. He didn't want to go. He said, "I'm not ready." I said, "You are ready. It's time to move on."
Yeah, the wildest thing was running your late model in September of 1999, along with my Legend car, and in September of 2000 was my first Cup start at Dover, Delaware. So 12 months removed from running Legend cars and late models, I'm starting at Dover in a Cup car. That's how quick it went. That's why I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for all the big time PR, marketing,
Well,
and the whole overall charisma of
big
what it
jump
took.
was going from the tour car to a truck race at Daytona.
Yeah, first ever start.
Yeah.
Daytona. I think I wrecked 10 times and still finished second.
Was he as feisty back then as he turned out to be on the Cup side?
Oh, he's mellowed.
Good answer.
Lee?
Kurt, do you have a green thumb?
Do I agree that I've mellowed?
No, do you have a green thumb?
Oh, my grandmother was definitely the one that kept our garden up and always made trips to Star Nursery. And we got all of our plants for our house there. And I tried for a few palm trees in North Carolina from Craig. And it's just too harsh of winters. But no, I don't really have a green thumb, but I know that a lot of green that Craig put up to make the Southwest Tour car happen is what allowed me to make it to the big time.
And Craig, how have you watched? I know we've watched Kurt evolve since coming to the Cup Series, but what are the things that you've seen that just have really impressed you with the man that he's become?
How he has grown and matured, because in the very beginning, as I guess as a spotter, is the way Kurt ran his life. Everything was full bore, wanted to exceed at anything and everything he did. He wanted to be number one. He wanted to be at the front of the pack. And I think over the years, he has definitely understood that be patient, his time will come. And it's, I think it's a philosophy that he's finally learned and is taking advantage of it today.
All right, well, thank you guys both for coming in, and I can even say from 20 years, it's been a lot of fun watching it, having been around for all of it.
This has been great. The whole Star Nursery paint scheme, the fans, the way they've embraced it this weekend. There's a generation that hasn't seen this car on the track before. And a fan came up last night at the dirt track at the Star Nursery 100 and said, I wish there was more drivers that would do a throwback paint scheme to the retro scheme that helped them make it to the big time. And so this could be a trend that we start with drivers from different hometowns, different parts of the country. But it really was special to have the car hit the track today. I had those goosebumps of Craig's with me, and I got to make sure I'm pretty straight today because he's up there spotting for me. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
As you can tell, we are now joined by Brad Keselowski, driver, the number 2 discount tire Ford for Team Penske. We're going to open the floor up for questions, and we will start with Bob Powers.
Bob Pockers, Fox Sports. Everybody talks about trying to learn this package. With a win, can you be kind of the guinea pig or the experimental car for things that your team wants to look at?
Well, okay. Yeah, first off, I got to say happy birthday, Bob. How many are you going to tell us? 50? Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have pushed it a solid 42. 42. So the question is, am I a guinea pig? Is that the question?
Can you be the experimental car, for lack of a better term, for something your team wants to look at?
Yeah, sure. Why not? If it's the faster experimental things. I like the faster ones. I'm not so keen on the, hey, we're not so sure if this is faster, but it might break things. But, yeah, I think that's generally how it goes for most teams when you have a car that's locked in. At least early in the year, you can, kind of throw some bones at them, and if it breaks, yeah. If it works, good. Then it seems like it kind of flips right before the playoff starts, where it's, so-and-so might not get in, and they're your teammate or whatever it might be, your team car, and if we got one of something, he gets it, and let's see if it helps. So for right now, it's good for sure.
Go next to Matt.
Matt Weaver, Auto Week. there at the end of the practice session, the Penske cars lined up looked very similar at times to like a Daytona practice session. What did you learn, and is that a harbinger for what we could see in qualifying or even the race on Sunday?
Yeah, I don't know. We're not really sure what we learned yet, to be honest. We're not as fast as the RCR guys can run by themselves a good 4 or 5 tenths faster than we can, and I think we were just kind of throwing some Hail Marys to see if we could stumble upon something, and didn't really stumble upon much. So trying to really understand why that is, what we're missing, and how we're going to find speed by ourselves, and hopeful that when the race starts we'll have speed in that trim. Problem, Matt.
We'll go next to Jeff and then to Mark.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. But so like last week on this Friday, it was like, oh geez, the Penske car is not looking good. They're down on speed, you know, and then next thing, you know, you win the race and everything looked fine in the race. Is that going to be like some sort of a weekly occurrence where Friday and Sunday are a different thing this year?
Well, I guess we'd have to ask that after the race is over. If it was just, you know, right now we have one data set, which is not a great thing to go off of, but it's something. Based off the test, if you're really fast in qualifying, you'll be really fast here leading in the race. But if you ever lose track position, you'll never get it back. And I think that was part of what Atlanta saw too. So it's a big question mark. And a lot of it plays into the variability of the race, you know, with the stages. The stages for this kind of, you know, rule settings have even a bigger effect than before because the strategy will be even more mixed. It'll be very hard to keep track position. So you'll do things to win the stage that might bury you for the next stage, and if you don't have a car that can handle, you'll never get it back. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out, but that's probably my intuition at the moment. Jeff.
We'll go to Mark, then to Jerry, then to Claire.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Brad, I watched the video of you out in the infield with the family, the gentleman there last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. You go out there to do these kind of things. Hey, it's kind of neat, people, but that seemed like another whole level. I mean, were you surprised that there was that kind of connection from him to you and then you to him?
Well, I'd say, you know, Mark, one thing I've learned over the, you know, years I've been in coming to racetracks is to never be surprised by something you see in a campground. So I can't say I was entirely surprised, but I was maybe more humbled. You know, there's a lot of people that come to races that, you know, this is their deal, right? This is what they've been doing with their family for years, and maybe it's their one vacation. You know, everybody's got a different story. But I think sometimes, obviously, that gets lost on us as competitors, because when we come to the racetrack, it's head down, you know, what can we do to win? And it's hard for us to see the picture of everybody who's here, and everyone's got a different story. And it's nice from time to time to be able to reflect upon that, and certainly doing those things helps me. And the gentleman past week in Atlanta, his story was certainly very pulled at your heartstrings, so just put it that way. You know, someone who's been coming to the racetrack for 30-some years with his dad and lost his dad, and, you know, not sure if he still wants to come. So it's nice to be able to see those people and tell them and show them that our sport hasn't forgotten about them. We're glad to have them here.
How much do you enjoy running into different stories in the infield when you're out there?
A lot. You know, and there are some really unique perspectives. I saw someone in Daytona had been coming, you know, I think he told me since the 60s, and could tell you the stories of how things have changed, and some things have changed for the better and some maybe not. So again, just it's good perspective finding. I think sometimes we all could use that.
Go next to Jerry, then to Claire, then to Ron.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net right here. You talked about data sets on this new package, and I guess switching back and forth with with ducks, without. How far into the season do you see before you guys get a good feel on everything, and where you can plan out the rest of the year with the new packages?
Internally, in my mind, Jerry, I've put Kansas as a big marker for the sport. You know, when we're out here on the West Coast, the teams don't really get a good chance to innovate on the cars and kind of redo them, apply the lessons learned. But by the time we get through Texas and get to Kansas, generally I think we see the field kind of settle into where they're going to be, and I would expect that to be the case with the way the schedule plays out this year.
Claire?
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Can you talk about the idiosyncrasies of qualifying at this racetrack here today?
I used to. I used to could. Claire, I really have no idea what to expect in qualifying right here. Part of me thinks the 3 and the 8 car are going to just drive away and sit on the pole, and part of me thinks you're going to see a 10-car drafting pack. Part of me thinks that everybody will sit down on pit road till the time expires, and we'll go, what was that? So I really don't know what to expect, if I'm being honest.
And is there, I mean, qualifying is always important, but any less important because you'll be drafting and that the race will be different, that qualifying is not as key here?
Yeah, I don't know if I would go that far. By not qualifying well last week, we probably cost our team a bunch of stage points. And, we won the race and only scored like the 5th or 6th most points because of that. If we had scored some stage points, we'd be leading the points right now. And so that stinks. So I want to qualify well. I want to get those stage points, and I want to be leading the points. So that really starts with Friday.
Ron?
Hey, Brad. Ron Kantowski, Las Vegas Review-Journal. If you were a race fan on Sunday, watching the race on his sofa, would you rather be watching it with this new aerodynamic package or the one that you guys ran last year?
Ron, I would say if I had one thing I'd want the cameras to zoom out. And whether it's this rules package or last year's rules package, I just don't feel like with the camera zoomed in, you can really appreciate all that's going on. So if I was sitting on my couch watching the race, the first thing I would say is zoom the cameras out. That's what I say when I watch them. When I watch like an Xfinity race or something in the garage, it's the first thing I say. Because I think more so than any rules change, the biggest thing we can do is try to give a better perception of just how much great racing there is across the whole field. And I feel like a lot of times the sport suffers from the fact that we zoom the cameras in on 1 or 2 cars and we lose perspective, which is why coming to a race, in my opinion, converts fans or people who maybe weren't fans into fans, because it's such a different experience where you can feel the energy and excitement more. So I don't think it's a matter of the rules. I think if I was watching on TV, I just want to get better perspective.
Let me phrase it in a slightly different way. Do you think fans are going to enjoy this race more than the drivers will because of the new rules?
I don't know. I enjoyed the test. I enjoyed parts of both. I got to do the test here. I enjoyed some of the race runs. I enjoyed before this just screaming fast around here. I mean, ridiculously fast. And I enjoy the tactics of running in the group as well. It's different. I don't know if it's better or worse. At the end of the day, that's really for the fans to decide, and they'll vote with their attendance and with the ratings.
Thanks.
Go right behind you here to Tom.
Tom Zaleski, Iron County Today. Hey, Brad.
Howdy.
You've won here twice previously. You've had the test. Does anything you've done in the past, is it different? Is it different? What is different now as opposed to when you won here before?
Every year that the cars change, the field changes. I'm more comfortable with the track than I was the first time I won here. I can tell you that. I feel like I know where every bump is, and not that I could drive the track blindfolded, but I can feel comfortable looking in my mirror and knowing when I hit XYZ bump exactly where I'm at without having to focus on it. That's part of the experience, because all that stuff affects you, obviously. I would say I feel more comfortable. The cars are, of course, driving a little differently. And of course, my perceptions have changed with time of what I'm comfortable with and how the car should drive. So I think, if anything, I just feel more comfortable. more so than any car change or anything like that.
Go next to Reed and then back to Mark.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Brad, does your plate racing prowess, do you think it's going to help at all with this package, or are they still just too different?
I've thought about that a little bit, Reed, and I felt like it helped me a little bit last week. I felt like it helped me a lot at the test. I'm not sure it'll play into the race. I really don't know. I don't think it'll hurt.
Go to Mark and then to Lee.
Mark Arrow again, PRN. Brad, you talked about enjoying, parts of the practice. What kind of a chess match is it? 3 and 4 wide? Is it, like rolling down the interstate in 4 lanes? You're trying to pick the lane. Sometimes you get the right one. Sometimes you have to tap the brakes. Sometimes you have to jump on the brakes.
Yeah, you know what? I think, Mark, that the question is the cars definitely don't want somebody on the right side of them. They never did, but it's even more prevalent now. So that means you run up high, but that's also the longer distance. So then you try to, cheat that a little bit in the corners the best you can. So you find yourself trying to play defense the best you can, and in doing so, it's very difficult because you don't want to give up the inside and you don't want to give up the outside. I don't know if there's anything like it that I can compare it to, but I can say that, when you see like maybe the racing at Daytona and you see all the cars up against the wall and you say, well, why are they doing that? It's because they're trying to hide the right side of the car, and I can see some of that playing out here, but the cars honestly don't have enough handling to be able to do that like a Daytona. So you'll see some kind of go to the bottom. It maybe reminds me more of a kind of a game of leapfrog, a Frogger or whatever it is. You want to get down to the bottom, make a pass, and then get up and hide yourself from the big truck that's going to run you over. But that's the best way I know how to maybe compare.
We'll go to Lee, and then we'll wrap up with Woody.
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com. A couple of the drivers were saying during practice they didn't want to be the car out front. Would you agree with that? And what kind of defense, I guess, if you're that guy, are you going to play?
You mean out front in qualifying or in the race?
During the race.
Lee, I want to be in the front. I'm going to get to the front, and nobody's going to pass me if I get there. So if I can get there, that's what I'm going to try to do. As far as qualifying, I want to be the guy in the front, too, if I have a car as fast as Austin and Daniel do, because I don't think you're going to draft them and catch them.
And you said, I think it was to Claire, you said, honestly, we don't have a plan. I can't believe that Penske doesn't have a plan going into qualifying with the 4 cars. I didn't see you guys draft. We had media availability in here. Did you guys get to run in a pack the way SHR and JGR did?
We did a little bit, and it was not very successful. So I don't expect that'll play out for us. Meeting our cars together. We might tag along with somebody else, but we're not close enough for that to work.
Woody came with MRN. Brad, to get your look ahead week for us, if you will, what kind of an impact do you think flip-flopping the start-finish line had at Phoenix, and how much more or less pronounced might that be with the new package?
I really liked it. I thought the racetrack, and I'm going to eat a little crow here because I personally thought to myself that the flip-flopping at Phoenix was a disaster before the race started. And after I ran the race, I thought it was one of the best things they ever did. So that shows what I knew going into it. That's why you got to run a race first. And what I liked about it is I felt like you set yourself up for passes a lot better because you didn't get about 1 and 2 so narrow. And when you'd have a restart, you couldn't do anything. And then the cars would gap off of 2, and by the time you got to 3 and 4, you were too spread out to do anything. Since the track was flipped and 3 and 4 is now 1 and 2, 1 and 2 is now 3 and 4, the new 1 and 2 is very wide, and I feel like that allows you to make moves and keeps the cars closer together when they get to the new 3 and 4. And I thought it was just better racing.
Brad, thanks for taking the time to join us, and good luck this week.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Take care. If I can have your attention here in the Media Center, we'll continue on with today's media availability. We're now joined by Austin Dillon, driver of the number 3 Dow Celastic Silicone Elastomers Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing. We'll open the floor for questions. We'll start with Mark, and then we'll go to Matt.
First off, I want to know if you can say that 10 times real fast.
The answer is no.
Mark Carroll with PRN. Austin, Brad Keselowski was in here a little while ago talking about the speed that he thought he saw out of your car and Daniel's car. Just in general, even taking bits and pieces from what drivers said at Daytona and Atlanta, general census in the garage is that RCR found some speed over the winter. How do you feel about the speed in your race cars here at the beginning of the year?
Well, I'm very proud of RCR. Eric Warren has put a ton of work and effort with him and Andy Petrie together, working with our guys in the aero department to really put a big effort into this new package to come out as the guys to beat. And I felt like we left the Vegas test the fastest car, and I wondered how we would come back. And I felt like we brought the exact same speed back. The guys definitely closed in on us. I felt like they learned some stuff from us at the test, but I do feel like we've got the capability of getting the pole. Now it's our job to keep it going. You know what I mean? I mean, it's in our hands to not give up the pole this afternoon. I do feel like we have a good shot at it. We got to work together, and strategy is still going to be a huge part of this qualifying effort. I think guys are going to be trying to hook onto us and do different things to find speed to get to us. So, and they'll also get faster between now and qualifying. They'll see things that their car needs and make it better.
Do you feel in general, though, out of the box that RCR is in better shape now than they were at the end of last year?
I feel like RCR has done a great job with this package and really put the effort into it. And like I said, it goes to our competition director and Eric and Andy Petrie, really pushing it together. And then our crew chiefs, Luke Lambert and Danny Stockman. Last week, we had one car run really good and our car did it, and that was just trying to maximize that first race to see which direction we needed to go with our cars. And I felt like we found that with the 8, and we kind of had a good game plan coming here to Vegas, and we stuck with it. And the biggest thing is game planning, and I've been really hard on the radio the last 2 weeks, is just because I feel like the potential is there for us to get one of these races early. And so the stress level is a little bit high because we've got the speed, and executing with that is sometimes can raise the stress level. So I'm just trying to really harp on our guys to communicate as best as we can and create less margin of error when we get out there, just so everything is known. But the 3 and the 8 team are going to be able to push each other, I feel like, all year. You know, Daniel's a great driver, and to have him over there with me working together, I feel like we can accomplish some good things. We got some really smart people at RCR.
Matt Weaver, Auto Week. I feel like we're kind of in a similar spot as Daytona, to where everyone's trying to predict how the race is going to play out when you have 15 to 20 cars out, and then you get to the 500 and it's a completely different race. We saw the test here, and we saw all kinds of different races, mini races play out. So do you feel like we still don't know what this is going to be until Sunday? And do you guys have data that kind of give you an idea of what it could be?
I think there's still some variables on what is the best way to go about this racing. I think that's the one thing everybody doesn't know. I think in our minds we've put a lot of work into simulation and wind tunnel and just trying to combine it all to figure out what direction you should go when it mechanically or aero-wise to figure out how it's going to race the best. That's what the variable we don't know. We really don't know. We saw at Atlanta some guys were really good for a little while and then they faded, you know. And we're just trying to figure out the best way to race around each other, and because we know we're going to be closer together more often. And I think that crossover number on your car is going to be really key to finding that racing around each other.
Your granddaddy said that the balance was off on your nose last week at Atlanta. Is your car and Hemrick's car closer to setup this week?
Yeah, we're much similar. It really set up with some of it, and then just the direction we were headed. Also, when it came to drag, was part of it. So our cars are much similar this week. We're very like exact, and I feel like you saw it on the board. We were first and second, so that was nice to see. And now it's just our job to keep progressing together as two, both of us, to be the fastest and can carry where we're at. I think that's sometimes you get more stress when you are the fastest. Now you got to keep that banner going because you know the capability is there in your car.
Now, you also tried to run with Bubba, and I think you said your car was kind of a little, or his car got squirrely when you guys were all together. Is there anybody else that you can team up with?
Well, the good thing, I felt like our car had enough single car speed that we might not have to draft. But I think the problem with that is everybody's going to be trying to draft with us. So I really just wish that the qualifying effort was, one car at a time like we usually do, because we've done a good job at RCR. I would almost guarantee I feel like a pole today if it was single car qualifying, but like last year qualifying, and or like we used to do when we switched back from the trucks from this. But that's the good thing about it. All the fans want to see what's going to happen here in a little bit when we line up and we start drafting, and it'll be interesting. But I guess the biggest thing I want to get out to you guys is I'm proud of RCR for having the fastest car here, the fastest cars here, before this all goes down here in a little bit.
Is your brother's car set up the same too?
Ty's car, I'm not really sure. I don't look at his stuff. I look, we talk, and our teams do, and they can see everything that's in our car. But I don't know what they brought. All I know is I talked to the 8, and they're very similar. So I don't know mechanically where they're at, but bodies should be very similar. Yeah.
Go next to Woody.
Woody came with MRN. Ty, look ahead for us a week, if you will. What did you think of the flip-flop of the start-finish line at Phoenix last year, and how that might play out with the new package this year, going back, especially on restarts?
Well, restart-wise, I feel like it was definitely interesting when you were in the corner having to get going in that banked in. I did enjoy going into the new turn 1 more than I liked the bank in. So I thought that was nice. It changed the outcome of the exit of turn 2 a little bit differently. I like that end being the start end. So I thought that was a good change. Made it more interesting, give you more options. Like the old turn 1, I felt like the option was you just try and stay with the guy that's beside you. I feel like the new turn 1, you have options to move around a little bit more and make moves with the throttle pedal, be more aggressive.
Additional questions for Austin Dillon? Austin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you,
and
guys.
Good luck this weekend. If I can have your attention here in the Media Center, we've got a very special press conference now with Haley Deegan. Haley, you're one of the busiest people here at this Speedway this week, and not only did you win last night's K&N Pro Series West race, and you're now the series points leader, but you're going to drive the Toyota Supra Pace car tomorrow for the Xfinity Series race, and you dropped some news on FS1. Can you tell us about the news you just dropped?
Yeah, this is a big weekend for me, starting off from the win at the dirt track, which going into that race, I just knew that I was going to have to go out there and get a win. Last year I got second, and I wasn't happy with it, even though it was my first time racing the stock car on dirt. I think that I just wanted to go out there and show everyone that I'm a dirt racer, and that we can be fast on dirt and we can get it done. And I wanted to come into this year and really show everyone that we're going to be competitive during this K&N West season, that I'm going for a championship, that we're not playing games, that we're here to win races. And I'm super excited to drive the Supra during the Xfinity race. I've been able to drive it a little bit here and there, and it's fast. I like it. I'm into all the sports cars and stuff, so just going out there, it's going to be really fun pacing the field. I have some friends racing the Xfinity race, so it's just going to be cool to get on the track.
And you just announced some news about the Menards ARCA Series here coming up that you're going to have 6 races.
Yeah, so 6 races with Venturini Motorsports. So Toyota TRD put the opportunity together for me. So I'm going to be racing in the Venturini car. Don't know which number yet, but going to be there for 6 races. I think we start off at Toledo, which I have a test there beforehand. But my car is going to be all between Monster, Craftsman, IK9. And so there's a lot of good partnerships going around in my ARCA series car, and between the K&N car too. There's just so much going on, so much support that's coming in, but still we just got to get to more racing, get more wins.
Okay, well, you'll get to some questions next. We'll start here with Lee, and we'll work our way around.
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com. I got to say, to see a bunch of grown men high-fiving each other when you came across the start-finish line was pretty impressive. Did you kind of fuel on the response from the fans?
Yeah, I saw some videos of just like the fans in the stands after. I think NASCAR racing, it comes down to those type races where it's not just following the leader all the way to the finish. It's going for those last lap passes, making those risky moves. That's what makes drivers unique. And I think the people who just stay in line, follow in line, become in this whole segment of average drivers. And I don't want to be average. I want to be different. I want to be unique and for my driving style and my abilities. And I think that just going out there, I'm not afraid to do something that someone else would be scared to do on the track. I want to go out there and I want to do what it takes to get a win.
And you said you're a dirt racer. We saw you in a sprint car last week. Where was that? And would you like to run Chili Bowl Nationals in January?
So I was at Ventura in one of Corey Cruzman's sprint cars. So I just went out there just getting ready for this dirt race. It was just really to get more experience on a dirt circle track. I'm from dirt off-road truck racing, and that's a lot different than flat circle track dirt racing. And so I just really drove that car to get more experience, more comfortable across the board. I was in a car 4 days in a row before this, just getting more seat time so I could come out here swinging. And that sprint car, that was fun to drive, for sure. I think that getting in a sprint car maybe a little bit more, whether it's a midget or something like that, just getting around the board, more practice in different cars will make me a better driver.
But would you like to run Chili Bowl?
I don't know. I think Chili Bowl's a big step. Something that I would have to really have a lot of seat time, a lot of practice to do. And I don't know if this year I'd be ready to do that. I don't know. I mean, my focus right now is on stock car racing, and I don't want to venture too far away from that. I really just want to get in a stock car, not take away what I have from stock car racing to do something else. I just want to focus on my championship in the K&N series I'm trying to get.
Go to Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, kickingthetires.net. You were already in the pace car earlier today. Can you talk about that and what it means to you to be actually to pace the field?
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Just honestly, I haven't even been on the speedway yet in just a regular car. And so just going out there, being in the Supra, being the first Supra to pace the field in the Xfinity race, it's going to be one good experience just because that the car is fast, and I've driven it before on other tracks. At Daytona, when we did a commercial for Toyota there, it was just watching that car and how much speed it has, and just seeing it on like one of the racetracks. It's just a cool thing to do. Maybe in the future we get my hands on one, but that'd be something cool to do.
Hi. Right here in the middle.
Hi, Anna Michelle Johnson from KPVM TV. Very simple question. How do you plan on making this year more exciting than the last?
I think this year, last year, I really just want to get that weight off my shoulders of getting that first win out of the way. And I think the only thing that can make it more exciting is more wins and a championship.
Justin Schuler, Speedway Media. Tell us about your relationship with your driving coach, Troy Adams.
Yeah, so Troy, ever since really growing up, I'd say from the age of 12, 13, in off-road truck racing, he was actually like my main competitor's driving coach and spotter. And he was kind of my driving coach away from the track, but as soon as we went to the track, he was my competitors. And I ended up battling for a championship with him in the end. And after that season, he ended up coming over to my side, being my spotter, my driver coach, and I was about 15 at the time. And ever since then, I go to his track. He owns a go-kart track up in Riverside area, and I go there about once, twice a week to get more practice, especially before race weekends. And we practice everything from driving a go-kart on a circle track to bump and runs to parking on the bottom of the last corner. Everything that I use in a stock car, I've practiced at his track.
At the go-kart track, you ran a race in the off-season, and it seemed like you had a lot of fun out there for that.
Yeah, I have so much fun. Whatever car I can get in, I think just being able to come around and get in whatever car you can just makes you a better driver. So like driving the sprint car, driving a go-kart, if you stayed in a stock car, you're never really going to know what the difference is, different feels of a car, because everything's just based upon your feel. And if you can comprehend with a lot of different cars, it's just going to make you a better driver.
We'll go to your left to Chris and then to Matt.
ChrisKnightCatchfence.com. Talking about your ARCA schedule,
coming up with Venturini. Obviously, is a very potent ARCA Racing Series team, and you're going to be very diverse in your schedule, running from short tracks to super speedways, obviously with Pocono and Kansas and whatnot. Is this the feeling to get you ready towards a full ARCA schedule in 2020, hopefully?
I mean, this year, really just getting ready. I think it honestly depends on how this year goes with my K&N series. I think if we get that championship, yes, I'd want to move up, make a step into a bigger series after we accomplish everything I can in this series. And that's something that I really wanted to do with my career, is just win at every level that I'm at before I move up. And so I think oh, my bad. Okay. So I think this year in the ARCA series, I just want to go out there, be able to run in the top 5, go out there, maybe get a win. But, yeah.
Too much dirt racing. It's catching up to you. Matt Weaver, Auto Week. My question surrounds Kevin Reed Jr. Oh, wait. Hang in there.
All right, back at it.
You good?
Good.
Okay, so Kevin Reed Jr., you started working with a little bit last year. He's a second-generation crew chief. His dad has been in ARCA and trucks for years. You guys seem to have gelled really quickly. How's it been working with Kevin Jr. and just what he brings to your program?
Yeah, I think going up this year, Kevin, he really made the difference in my program. God, I think he came in midway through the season and really showed that our relationship together, just of being a younger crew chief, understanding what I had to say. He wanted to prove something, I wanted to prove something, and us together, we just comprehended well.
Any additional questions for Haley? We'll go to Bob.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. You talked about how every time you're in a car, it's it's a good experience, but I imagine New Smyrna was not the most fun experience for you. How important was yesterday in light of kind of the struggles at New Smyrna?
Yeah, New Smyrna, that was a rough race, and I think that we went out there, we showed that we were fast, we showed that we were one of the fastest cars out there, and I think that God, something that I wanted to do during the off season was work hard so we could show that. And once we did show that at New Smyrna, it really showed everyone that we were going to be fast hopefully all season. And it didn't end the way I wanted it to, but I think that everyone saw we were fast. We did everything we could. Car, just, you have problems with it sometimes. Everyone has that in the racing world, but it happens. You just go past it, move on to the next race, and we got it done here. That's what I wanted to do.
We'll wrap up here with Davey.
Hey, Haley, back here.
Oh, what's up?
What's up? So coming up next for K&N West is Irwindale. Trevor Huddleston, Jagger Jones, they both have a lot of experience there, as well as some other drivers in the series. How do you kind of handicap your chances? I know it's early, but to maybe start the season off with back-to-back wins?
Man, I'd hope so. That'd be great. I've raced at Irwindale quite a bit before, so I feel like I know that track pretty well. But I think there's some things there. Like maybe Trevor knows a little bit more about me about the track, but I think in the end we have a really good car. And if we can get a really good setup, we'll definitely have a good run there. Just because I've driven on that track a lot. It was one of the first tracks I ever drove on in a K&N car. So I think that's something that I had a lot of raw speed at Irwindale. So if I can do good, get a good setup, we're going to have a good race car.
Well, Haley, congratulations on the win last night. That was awesome. And good luck the rest of your season. And have fun driving that Super tomorrow.
Thank you.
Take care.